Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
It was that was my guy's idea. It was hip hop minus lies equals wise guys.
Equals wise guys.
Was
Yeah.
the equation, you know. With the shirts, we just try to be creative with it. The one we're going with right now that we actually just wore this past Friday at the show was says Twin Cities above ground, and the W in the twin is a different color, and the G in the ground is a different color for the WG for wise guys. I mean, we just try to be creative with our apparel up there, and just give them something else to look at besides a Cool G shirt or whatever you might see at different shows.
All right. So if you were to sign with the main recording label, who would you sign with, and who wouldn't you sign with?
Basically, I mean, that's come up in discussions with me and Dextro, and we feel like anyone that can give us creative control over the music is good to go. As long as someone doesn't come in and say, if you need to do this song, like you need a dance song and you need it for a single and you need it right now, I can't deal with that. Like, so if someone can come in and maybe give us advice, but not just say, this is the ultimatum with the music, because we have right now, we have creative control, and we're doing, we're making moves right now. We're being successful with what we do, so why would we want to change that and sacrifice what we have just for a few extra dollars?
Yeah. So, what do you think major recording labels look for in rap artists?
It used to be, it seemed like, if someone had talent, they would see that and just snatch them up, sign them. Today there's so many people doing it, so it's hard to pick out the ones that have talent, so that you have to stand out. You can't just have talent and they'll sign you. They can sign anybody off the block, everyone and their cousin raps. So, I mean, you have to have a draw, you have to be able to bring people in, you have to have a niche, you have to have a target audience. Those are the things that they're looking for, so those are things that you have to show them that you can do before they sign you.
Right. How does being a local artist differ from what you might imagine being signed to a label? Like, how do you feel about, being, like, if you were signed to a label, what would, like, be the farthest you'd go?
I mean, we'll try anything, whatever someone wants us to do, to further the career, and we think it's a good idea, we're going to do it. As far as, what the difference is, right now most of our shows are in the Twin Cities area and in Minnesota. With being signed to a label, we're going to be hopefully doing national shows, international shows. That can be a little pressing, a little stressful, but that's the goal. That's what we want to do, so it's worth it.
So, how do you feel about hip hop today?
Hip hop today is different from the hip hop that I'm used to, that I met when I was like 10. 1995, I bought my first CD with my own money. It was Busta Rhymes, The Coming. I love that CD. But today it's different. It's a lot of floss. It's a lot of dance. It's a lot of R&B, fusion. But I think there's a room for that. I used to think a couple years back that all it's dying out. There's nothing real anymore. But now I'm realizing as I get a little older that it's just a matter of growing, and everything grows. All kinds of music go through different growth periods. So I think it's good, and there's a room for it. There's also room for what we do.
All right. So I'm sure you've heard this before, but rap music is generally critiqued and judged as being sexist and misogynist. So, like, would you agree with that?
I think some of it definitely. I think that's out there. That's been on TV, it's on videos, it's on the radio, it's certainly on albums that you can buy. I think there's also a section that doesn't do it that gets kind of overlooked because they don't do it. So that they really have nothing to say bad about it, so it kind of gets completely overlooked. But it is an issue, and it's one that I don't necessarily agree with, but I don't really, it's still freedom of speech, so I just kind of leave it alone. They do what they do, I do what I do.
Yeah, that's a major problem. So how do you go to a show and deal with being different, and then deal with other people's expectations based on like what they might hear from somebody on the radio?
Really, it's not like a lot of people will see us and they think that we're trying to be different, and really, it's just a matter of we're doing what we're doing, and the radio has changed over time. We haven't changed, so. But like I said, our goal is to reach everyone. We want to have a wide audience, so we take what we know and what we're used to, and then we go and we push that. We push our boundaries to the absolute edge to try to get a wider audience, but we don't sacrifice, what we think is still good music.
So can you identify like any negative stereotypes in rap music and its videos?
I mean, definitely, degrading of women is probably the biggest. After that, it's violence, guns. Um, it's and there's also a bad stereotype is that rappers are dumb. they're just idiots, and really that's not true. Even some that might come off that way aren't really like that. They do it because that's what they're told to do. That's what's hot. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely negative stereotypes out there.
So if your son was to turn on BET, MTV, or VH1, what would you not want him to see?
I wouldn't want him to see anything. I mean, really, he's going to see things. I want to be honest with him. He doesn't need to see them at the age he's at right now. He's 4. So, I mean, I wouldn't want him to see any guns. I wouldn't want him to see any violence, any making fun of women or calling them names or really just dancing around with hardly anything on. Like, that's something that's out there that he'll see on his own time. I don't really care for him to see it right now.
Alright, so as a male rap artist, how do you relate with female rap artists?
You know what? There's really not any out here that I've met personally. I think it's one of my favorite rappers of all time is Lauryn Hill. And obviously she sang too, but man, she could definitely spit, and there's just not a lot out here. I wish there was more.
So you would collaborate with a female rap artist?
Definitely, I would love to. Absolutely.
So do you see any problems with the music industry and any common themes that are troubling, like for hip-hop?
You know what? I would say the commercialization of hip-hop is good and bad. It's good because it's blowing up. It's worldwide. It's in commercials. It's before, Twins games. You're hearing rap. It's everywhere. The problem I have with it is most of the stuff that's prominent is kind of a dumbing down of what it used to be. Like if you go back and you look at like that era, like that mid to late 90s era, that influenced me so much. It was just more intelligent music being played out there. It was just harder beats, a lot of East Coast, Nas, Jay-Z, Pun, like that was the crowd that everyone was feeling at that time. And now it's like, it's just a dance, which is fine, and that was out there back then, but it just wasn't so prominent. It wasn't the main feature. Like now, it's just what's the new dance, and that's what's called hip hop. So I mean, like I said, it's good and bad. It's more exposure. Like that exposure that type of music is getting, hip hop is great because that allows us to do different things. Like we're looking into doing movie scores and doing music for soundtracks and things like that. So.
All right, so. What advice could you give an up-and-coming local artist about coming up in the game?
The biggest thing is just stay hungry. The minute that you say, okay, I got a little buzz, I can fall back now. It's all good. It's not. It's never. The grind never stops. Especially if you're independent, you're doing it by yourself. You have to be on every time. You have to make some kind of progress every single day, and you have to do what other people aren't doing. You have to do, if they're handing out flyers, you hand out more flyers. If they're only handing out flyers, you make flyers and posters and get a radio ad. You have to do what they're doing and more just to be competitive.
All right, thank you. Is there anything else you want to say about hip hop, commercialization, local artists?
You know what? There's a lot of good local artists, Minneapolis, St. Paul area. We've been working with a lot. We've had a lot of shows with a lot of dudes. I would like to see, the game and the fans expand beyond Rhymesayers. Rhymesayers is like the main label out in this area, and they're doing great things. They're doing, national shows, international shows, just making a lot of moves. But it seems like if you're not on Rhymesayers, they don't check for you as much. And then, another thing is, it just seemed a little bit oversaturated, and I hate to say that, but there's a lot of guys that just shouldn't be doing it. obviously that's opinion, but it's, you know, it's my opinion. I just think that now people aren't gonna show up to shows if you have 3 shows every night to go to. You know what I mean? Like you have to weed it out, and it seemed like, you know, back in the day there was, if you were good, you were good. You know, if you had talent, then you made music. Right now, it's just anybody can get a hold of a mic in the studio and get in and make music, and anyone can get a show. Unfortunately, you know, everyone has a cousin that has a connection here or there. So, you know, I just wish that it was more talent based, and I wish there was less shows and people just put good shows on. You know what I mean?
All right. Thank you so much.